the folks in Ann Arbor, Michigan, they're feeling pretty good about what they have at quarterback right now with Bryce Underwood. And we've contributed to the discussion. We've thrown some coal on the hype train and told you we think he could be really good. I don't think it's crazy to think he could be an all-conference kind of player. But here's what I think is not being talked about nearly enough when it comes to Michigan and when it comes to Bryce Underwood and what he could be in 2025. We'll unpack that right now. But before we do that, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Michigan fans, if you want more content around your Wolverines, let us know. Best way to let us know, not the voicemail, we appreciate that, not the comment section, we appreciate that too, is by subscribing to the channel. You subscribing creates demand, therefore we create supply. We appreciate y'all for being dialed in. So the Big Ten title formula for Michigan, the last couple of seasons, not last year obviously, but when they were reeling off Big Ten titles, it was J.J. McCarthy, it was Cade McNamara. It wasn't like they had this prolific passing game where they threw for 300 yards a game. In fact, I'll give you a chance to guess. What do you think the average passing yards a game was of a J.J. McCarthy-led Michigan offense, which was the most potent through the air when they were winning Big Ten titles? Okay, great, you guessed. It was less than 200 yards, right around $195, $199 is what he got to in 2023. Cade McNamara was below that. And the reason why you're able to do that is because you ran the football at such an elite level. Dude, we're not putting the ball in the air when we got Blake Corum pounding the rock for over 1,000 yards in a season. We got Hassan Haskins going for 1,300 yards. We don't need to worry about throwing the football when we can turn around and hand it to somebody and still get a tremendous gain and make you say uncle because we're just bullying you in the trenches. And so for Bryce Underwood, I think this drives home the idea you don't need him to be Superman. And it's this thing where I almost feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I'm telling you, he could definitely have a year where he's an all-conference caliber kind of quarterback for you. That's true. I'm not backing down from that. However, the formula for Michigan in 2025, I think, will still be built on the old Michigan formula of punch you in the face. You say, well, JD, yes, we love that. We appreciate that. We hear that. We receive that with open arms. But the reality is Blake Corum hasn't been in Michigan in a couple of years now. Hassan Haskins, we love that dude, but he hasn't worn a Michigan uniform in quite a bit now. How are we going to have a season where we can bully people in the trenches? Because last year was good, but you didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. The formula for Michigan when they were winning Big Ten championships was they were running for right around 2,000-plus yards with their backfield. Okay, can we do that in 2025? We like Jordan Marshall. We like Justice Haynes. The other formula piece here you got to add into the equation, the other variable, is Bryce Underwood and his legs. So my question, if you're a Michigan fan, do you feel like you can moneyball with Jordan Marshall, Justice Haynes, and Bryce Underwood a world where you run for in the neighborhood of 2,000 yards? It's asking a lot. I get that. But, I mean, if you want to compete for Big Ten championships, you got to do a little bit extra. My feels, I think that's possible. I don't know if I'm predicting it right now, but I think that's possible. I think that's not inappropriate to think that could happen for Michigan in 2025. So if that's the case now, you're asking Bryce Underwood to then throw for right around 200 yards a game. That feels very doable. And the biggest part of this whole conversation when you talk about how Michigan's going to approach things offensively is who's calling the plays. Chip Lindsey, different offensive scheme. It'll be a little bit more spread out. It'll be a little bit more shotgun. It'll be a little bit more, what's the right way to say this? It's not going to be unorthodox because it's an offense a lot of people run in college football. It'll be a little bit unorthodox to what Michigan fans have seen over the course of the last few years with different offensive coordinators, right? But that soul of Michigan football of we want to move you against your will, I truly believe that's still the plan. And that's where this gets a little bit complex when you talk about Bryce Underwood. The Bryce Underwood part of all this is the potential. That's the potential. But it's potential in the context of their plan. The plan is still run the football. The plan is still force you to quit. The plan is still be the toughest team in the fourth quarter. But the potential is, with that plan, with that formula, we have a dude now who's 6'4", 220 plus, and can do backflips, playing quarterback. That has a rocket for an arm. Plan plus that, okay, then how good could we be? If last year the plan wasn't even executed as well as we want it to be, I told you, no 1,000-yard rusher last year for Michigan, and we still beat Ohio State, still beat Alabama, how good could we be? We keep revisiting that same question, but I think it's worth being talked about together. So you say, well, JD Bryce Underwood at some point does have to, live up to that number 1 overall player billing, doesn't he? Yeah, at some point throughout his career at Michigan, I think you'd like that to happen. But my question more so in the context of Bryce Underwood and his progress is, who is Bryce Underwood by game 6? Because by game 6, you play USC. When you play USC and Lincoln Riley is on the other sideline, there is a very real possibility that you will have to score with them. You'll have to score maybe in the 30s, maybe it takes in the 40s. I don't know. To do that, you probably need a quarterback who's a bit more dynamic, a bit more explosive, and an offense that mirrors that. And you also play Washington. Damon Williams, we're high on him. Do you have to answer scores there? Ohio State, does it become a game where Julian Sain and Ryan Day and Brian Hartline, they figure it out and they score some more points? You're not having a rock fight in Ann Arbor. If Bryce Underwood progresses to that level by game 6 for Michigan, then things get really, really interesting. And then at that point, I think the Death Star is fully operational, which would be the Chip Lindsey offense. So to recap it, the plan is still punch you in the face, run the ball, 2,000 yards. Can you moneyball that between Justice Haynes, Jordan Marshall, Bryce Underwood? I think it's possible. Take that plan, and the excitement is the potential of what Bryce Underwood gives you in addition to that plan and all the explosive plays you get out of that and the just dynamic nature of a dude at quarterback that is a Bryce Underwood. So I'm not tempering excitement, not telling you to calm down. I'm telling you that's what's in front of you if you're a Michigan fan here in 2025.